Well, take particular note of the name of my next guest, Savannah Hernandez. Savannah got her political start relatively recently due to some real gutsy protesting during the Black Lives Matter rallies in the United States. Despite the violence and the mayhem, we all saw that, Savannah held her own counter-protest by holding a banner which read, "Police Lives Matter Too." Disenfranchised with media bias when it came to covering these sorts of stories, it didn't take long before Savannah was making a name for herself as a fearless independent journalist, uncovering the truth of what's going on the streets of America and abroad. Her coverage has earned her over 20 million views across the internet and on television, and this is her debut on Sky News Australia. But you should expect to hear a lot more of her in 2023. Savannah Hernandez is in Dallas. I'm in Sydney. Welcome to Sky News, Savannah.
Thank you so much, Chris. Excited to be here.
Let's get straight to this. How endangered do you think is the truth and our hard-fought freedoms right now?
Well, hello to your audience. Just to give you guys a background on me, I have been doing reporting since 2020, and I have been triple banned on Twitter. I barely got my account back. And the reason I was banned was because I was making national news here in the States that was breaking the narrative, whether it had to do with transgenderism, Black Lives Matter, or just our basic economy and how Americans were faring over here. That is why I was initially banned. So to say that our truth is at risk right now and our freedoms at the same time, I think we can see just with the flow of information how at risk they are. And also, too, over the past 2 years, what governments have done worldwide with the COVID lockdowns. People didn't have freedom of information. People didn't have the ability to push back and speak out against their governments. And look what happened.
I think about all our pioneers, especially in our country, that are being cancelled, statues that have been torn down. We need to treat this time in our history like as if we have a war to fight, don't we?
Exactly. And that's why I've decided to, be on the forefront here in the United States, because our media has no problem bold-faced lying to us every single day. Our own government keeps coming out and saying that our economy is doing great. They redefine the word recession. But if you go out on the streets of America here and you ask people who are actually living through our economy, living through America under Joe Biden, they will tell you a very different story. Again, going back to my initial Twitter ban, we had CNN over here saying that the Black Lives Matter riots of 2020 were fiery but mostly peaceful. I saw a very different story, which is why I got ultimately banned. Again, too, earlier this year, we had a swimming championship in which a biological male was swimming against females. I found the one female athlete that was willing to speak out against this biological male. Our entire media was trying to pass this narrative that it was a great thing that he was swimming and winning the championship and taking the championship away from women. The women, however, telling a very different story.
Yeah, very true. And you got to the bottom of that. I love that. You're fighting this culture war as a reporter with Turning Point USA and via your Rapid Fire podcast. It is seriously a war we all need to fight. We need to all get skin in the game, and we need to stand up to those who want to cancel what we cherish and the freedoms that we're starting to lose.
Exactly. So, some of my other reporting surrounds homelessness and drug use here in the United States, because, again, our media and our politicians keep telling us that if we pass these progressive policies, that it's going to be loving and great for everybody. But if you go out on the streets of America, the reality of this is extremely horrific. If you go to Portland, you go to the majority of these Democrat-run cities in the United States, our own nation's capital, you will see the homeless littering the streets. You will see open drug use. I was actually just reporting in Philadelphia where I watched an open needle exchange, okay? So they're giving drug users needles in the streets for free to basically help and fund their addiction. And this is taxpayer funded. So these are the types of things that we need to be out on the street exposing, our own government's corruption. This is why big tech as well is so important in us being able to share this type of information.
I watched your report and also your on-the-scene experiences in Portland and also Philadelphia. Why are Democratic politicians in particular so frightened to take criminals off the street?
That's a great question. There's this guy called George Soros, and he actually loves funding a lot of our district attorneys over here who are very soft on crime. So that's a consistent pattern that we are seeing, as well as, just a lot of these politicians, again, trying to push this progressive policy as loving. But the reality is very different. American citizens fear for their lives in cities such as Portland and Philadelphia because you have drug addicts that are allowed to run the streets, run rampant. You have people being attacked on the subways of New York City. I have gone and I have spoken to these people who are actually living through the policy that these politicians are saying are a great thing. So, I really can't answer the question as to why they're afraid to lock up these criminals. All I can chop it up to is, again, government corruption and who is really funding these people.
Tell me, do you ever feel in danger of your own life? I said at the beginning of our interview, you've done some courageous things at the Black Lives Matter protest rally in Portland, in Philadelphia. Have you ever felt not only under attack, I'm sure you felt that, but have you felt as if your life was in danger?
Absolutely. And my recent reporting in Philadelphia just 3 weeks ago, I was actually physically attacked. I was slapped in the face. My equipment was stolen because I had the audacity to film the needle exchange that was happening on a public street in the United States of America. I've also been mobbed by Antifa rioters. I have been beaten up multiple times. But guess what? If I have to get beaten up every single day to tell the truth in my country, then so be it, because that's what every single journalist worldwide should be doing. That's the risks that we should be willing to take to tell the truth.
You are a shining light. Now, one thing we won't agree on, though, is that you want Alex Jones back onto social media. Why do you think he deserves a voice again?
I think that he deserves a voice because he was back in 2018, one of the first people that was banned off of Twitter. His app was banned from the Apple Store. Everything that we are seeing happen now to independent journalists such as myself and many others, all of that initially happened to Alex back in 2018. And if we had, focused in on that, if we had stood up for him and stopped this at its inception, then we wouldn't be so far, deep into censorship, where you had a sitting president of the United States of America banned off of a social media platform where he was reaching millions of Americans.
Okay, my argument with him is it is totally and utterly irresponsible to hurt so gravely grieving families that he did and he's found guilty of. And I just think that until we think that he changed his ways, he should be kept away from influencing anyone.
Well, Chris, I would ask you, have you watched his show? Have you listened to the multiple apologies that he has given? I actually worked with Alex for quite a couple of years, and I have listened to him profusely apologize and speak to the Sandy Hook parents themselves about how he regrets what he said, how he has backtracked on it. And again, I understand what you're saying, the damage is done, but at the end of the day as well, that is the First Amendment. And if you're not a First Amendment absolutist, then it leads to a slippery slope, right? Where we're banning one person, okay, we're banning another. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I was in the United States last week and I couldn't find too many people, whether they were cab drivers, people on the street, others that I met, American or foreigners, who didn't think Joe Biden had become an embarrassment to the nation. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Joe Biden is a joke. He's an international laughingstock. And, it's horrifying to me to see a dementia patient running my country. What's going on?
That's so true. I know that's, I guess, takes him down the way you put that, but it's so right, and it continues to happen, and it's proven far and wide that he's an embarrassment both domestically and internationally. Who's next then? What's the next president that the United States of America needs?
Well, Donald Trump has announced his run. There is a lot of support around him. We'll see what ends up happening. We have Ron DeSantis of Florida potentially running against him as well. So we'll see who the American people decide to choose. We'll see who the American people want to rally around as we try to pick our new president, because Joe Biden absolutely is not it. He's very corrupt. He is doing a horrible job of running our country. And I think our economy, goes to show for it.
One of the great things I like about you is you can't be accused of being a keyboard warrior. You are out there on the street, seeing things firsthand and then telling the truth. Savannah Hernandez, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you, Chris.